Welcome to A.U.M. Ask Us Marketing. I'm your host, Callie Fedosinko of Callie Collective, a digital marketing agency designed to build relationships between financial advisors like you and your target audience through data-driven content, websites, and advertising. If you'd like to learn more about us, you can scan the QR code below. This episode is brought to you by the Financial Planning Association, otherwise known as the FPA. FPA is a great resource center providing education, support, and networking opportunities for financial advisors. So, if you wanted to identify people in the US who were compelled to seek your advice because they had just received a financial windfall, how would you do it? And what would you say? And how would you nurture that lead? Today's A.U.M. will be a discussion and co-interview with Lori Thiel of WealthHawk. She's created a software company that uses AI to find money in motion events and follow that money to the payout recipients. What does that mean? Well, you'll find out shortly. Lori and I are going to go into detail on the best practices to define your ideal client and how to nurture them once you have them. So join with me, Lori Thiel. Hi, Lori.
Hi, Callie. Thanks for having me today.
I am so excited to have you. This has been a long time coming.
No, we've been trying for months to get together.
I know. Okay, I mentioned briefly about money in motion and tracking it to the recipient. Can you tell us what that means?
Absolutely. So, just to take a broad approach to what we do. For example, we realized, kind of like you do, that
Yeah.
financial advisors get into this industry so that they can nurture their relationships with their clients and provide client service. They are attracted to this industry oftentimes because they enjoy the intellectual rigor of financial planning and they like the social aspect of building relationships.
Mm,
What they don't like is administrative stuff like prospect development and perhaps marketing.
yeah.
And so we built WealthHawk to take the prospect development part off of their plate in terms of the workload and the time requirements and the restraints around
Mm,
getting finding those opportunities to build their business. So, you know, organic growth is so important, particularly
mhm.
right now. It's been in the news. It's part of almost every convention you go to in this
Yeah,
industry,
right.
talking about the need for organic growth. And we agree with that. And
Mm,
we try to help financial advisors grow organically by providing them data around individuals who had money in motion events. So, back to your original question,
yeah.
our platform finds liquidity events such
Okay.
as company sales, IPOs, executive compensation associated with people leaving a board, for example, or
Mm,
retiring from a company. Any event that produces a lump sum payout
yeah.
oftentimes requires people to look for opportunities to invest that money or at least find ways to manage that money.
Mm,
So, a lot of data out there, including data from McKinsey, show that sometimes events like this are what compel people to
mm,
find financial advisors or to reconsider the current financial advice they're receiving. So, there are opportunities that exist for financial advisors around money in motion events where they can reach out to the individuals who
right.
have experienced this cash windfall and give them opportunities to connect and engage those clients.
Yeah. So if I remember correctly, and you can tell me if I'm totally off the mark, but your software is so good. It finds so many people. And the issue that you've been facing with advisors is that um, it's like overload and they don't know how to define the ideal client. And they're like, okay, there's just too many. And so,
We do. We scrape for publicly available events. So I just
yeah,
want to get that out there first.
sure.
Um, our platform every single day scrapes public events for that produce liquidity, and we follow the money
Mm,
to the individuals who are the likely recipients of those payouts, and then we rate those individuals based on the likelihood that they got a payout, and the approximate size of that payout.
Mm.
And we apply heuristics that help us determine what that hawk, we call it the hawk rank because we're wealth hawk.
Yeah.
We're all very avian related content around
Mhm.
here. And we rate those individuals. We also, so that helps our users
Mm.
determine and filter for the ideal prospect. We
Yeah.
also enable our users to filter and sort for things like how long they've been with their company, where they are, like if they're in the C-suite, for example. We obviously allow our users to sort by geographic area. We
Mm.
provide opportunities for all of our users to see if they have a connection or some kind of link to individuals that we put on our platform through
Mhm.
LinkedIn. We connect all of our
Mm.
individuals to their LinkedIn accounts through our platform as well. So we provide a lot of ways for our users to find their ideal prospects and characterize who they are in a demographic way. But to your point,
Yeah.
once we give our users all this data and the profiles around these individuals that help
Mhm.
our users understand who is this person, what kind of event have they experienced, what are their life circumstances, all this data that we provide help our users do more customized outreach to these
Mm.
prospects that we define.
Mhm.
um, but it's up to the advisor to do that outreach. So to your point,
Right.
they will say to us, we love your data. We love the profiles around these individuals. We love getting to know about these people, these prospects before we ever reach out.
Mm.
Now, what do we do? And I say, well,
Right.
now you reach out. So, one of the things I love about your invitation today
Yeah.
is you offered an opportunity for me to ask you questions. So,
Mhm.
your Ask Us Marketing, I'm going to ask you a marketing question now.
Perfect.
Yeah, because our that's one of the big questions our users have. Like I said, they love our data, they love our content, they love getting to know these prospects so that they can create personalized content in their
Right.
outreach. But maybe you can talk a little bit about how to do that, maybe perhaps discuss drip campaigns or whatever you think would
Right.
be an ideal way to engage with these prospects.
Well, I think what's great about your software is you're walking away with email address and LinkedIn profile. So
Hmm.
you already have, I don't know if there's phone numbers, but you wouldn't want to
Yes.
jump into phone numbers right away. Um, so what I would suggest to someone is first linking with them on LinkedIn, sending a message, letting them know you're going to be emailing them, and then sending that email just to like, because otherwise you're probably going to end up in the spam folder, you know? And
Yeah.
then after you get that conversation going, which could be all automated, especially if you do the work of really defining your ideal client, because then you have very specific pain points that your audience shares and you know you can address in the communications to your prospect. So that's where I would suggest starting is LinkedIn and then followed by email, putting them into a drip campaign, which a lot of people are like, what is a drip campaign? Um, I consider a drip campaign and a nurture sequence the same. So it's just a series of emails that are specific to the pain point that somebody is going through.
Yeah, that's perfect. And I mean, to your point, a lot of our successful users, they approach it that exact way. So,
Mm-hmm.
because it's right on our platform and they can see immediately where their shared connections are and shared interest on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
that is how I advise people to get started. And that is where they usually get the first opportunity to engage.
Right.
Many of our users, because they search, and we provide so many opportunities for them to search in ways that are more meaningful to them, they start by searching geographically. And as a result, as you might imagine, a
Mhm.
lot of these individuals who live in their vicinity, they're either already connected to on LinkedIn or have some kind of shared connection that
Yeah.
they can ask to give them an introduction. And that, as you know, is a really great way to get a warm lead.
Yep.
You have a shared connection, introduce you to an individual, you can easily get a meeting at least, or
Mhm.
at least have a more warm reception to an email, like you said,
Right.
on a phone call. And so, again, I think a lot of individuals do start with LinkedIn because it's just so easy on our site to just click and try to connect right there.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. One other thing we do that maybe you can also add to is
Yeah.
because so many of our users asked us to, like what now? The what now question.
Mm-hmm.
And because we love tech and there's so much great AI enabled tech out there, what we did was we built a feature that we, of course, called Bird Brain, which
Love
enables
it.
exactly, which enables our customers, our users, to create it automates the creation of the first touch messaging.
Mm.
So if you are a user on our platform, let's just say I am using our platform
Yeah.
and I identify an individual who I would like to connect with and make and engage and create content to to create an engagement.
Right.
I can click Bird Brain and my platform will generate about 3 paragraphs of
Hmm.
data and content around it. So it'll pull the data and content around who I am, my
Mm.
profile, and
Okay.
it'll pull the data and content around my prospects, my ideal prospects profile. And it will say something like, so if it were me,
Yeah.
congratulations, Lori Thiel, on the IPO of your company, Wealth Hawk. I am
Mm.
a financial advisor who specializes in helping women who have created tech like yours manage the
Nice.
financial aspects around IPOs. So
Yeah.
it's very customized. It speaks
Yes.
directly to the event that occurred. It uses the name of the individual. It pulls data around the expertise of my financial advisors and it matches it to the
Mm.
individual on my platform. And my users can copy that content and put it, like you said, right into an
Yeah.
email. They can copy it and put it into their LinkedIn
Message. Yep.
request. Um, and it's a really great way to show that you, as a financial advisor, understand this prospect's
Mm-hmm.
situation
Mm-hmm.
and you understand the pain points around it. You understand
Right.
it's not all,
Yeah.
you know, sunshine. Sometimes you have to make hard decisions with what to do in a situation like this.
Yeah.
And I that first touch is a great opportunity to establish your credibility and let
Mm-hmm.
your prospect understand how you recognize their circumstances. However, like I
Yeah.
said, that's first touch. So
Yeah.
maybe you can talk a little bit more about, for example, how many times on
Mm.
average it takes for a person to reach out to and all the different ways to reach out to a prospect to
Mhm.
convert that prospect to either maybe get at the first engagement and or schedule the first meeting and or convert them to a paying customer.
Right. I actually when you're talking, I was like, I would also suggest to bring in that personal element because how many of us get an email every day and you're like, oh my gosh, somebody's trying to sell me something
One
again.
more stranger who doesn't know me.
Right.
Mhm.
Another way to break that through that barrier is with a video. So it's like, and you can put this into your email. It's just an image. That image would link to the video itself, and then somebody can play it. But having like a video of you talking, saying who you are and what you do, just to bring in that personal element of this is a real person. I think that really helps get the ball rolling. As far as how many, it's always changing. It used to be,
Like 7 or 8 was a
yeah, it was 7.
mhm.
But I heard recently it's increased now.
Oh, that you know what? That actually makes sense because to your point about everybody getting
Yep.
emails and um, outreaches, it would make sense that an individual would have to reach out to a prospect more than 7 times to cut through the clutter.
Right. I wanna say it's double now. I believe it's 15.
No,
To be
that's a
honest,
lot.
unless somebody asks you to stop emailing them, I keep them on my list forever.
Mhm.
And when I say my list, I don't mean like I'm sending them a newsletter. I'm talking about the nurture sequence of talking specifically about a pain point, especially if you've had a call with them and some sort of
Mhm.
connection. I don't think there's any reason that you should stop sending them information because at some point they're going to be at a place where they're ready for help. And the idea is that you want to be top of mind when that happens. And that's what's great, with Wealth Hawk, is you're finding people who ideally are already warm to hot prospects because they're in a
Mhm.
place where they need help. A lot of the people that I work with were cold prospects. So we
Yeah.
have to stay in front of them a lot longer because they're not in a place where they need the help and we want to stay top of mind.
That's a really good point. I like to tell people that our platform, Wealth Hawk, sits kind of right in the middle between one-off referrals and
Mhm.
mass marketing.
Mm,
So a lot of, I would say, the majority of the my customers come to me and say that they're so interested in and they require a good process for organic growth,
yeah.
partly because it's the way to have a stable and sustainable business.
Mhm.
And when I ask them how they have traditionally gotten new clients, almost all of them tell me
Referrals.
literally exactly one way, and
Yep.
it's referrals,
Yes.
which,
Yes.
that is a great way to get a client
Mhm.
who right?
Mhm.
You get a sense of who this person is. You're the person who does the referral. If there's somebody you trust, you can pretty much be assured that this new person that they're introducing you to is going to be a good fit for you, or they wouldn't have made
Right.
the referral. So it's lovely in that respect because it allows you to personalize your outreach. You get a sense of who this individual is so that when you have your first meeting, you already understand their
Mhm.
circumstances. And you also get a sense of, would this person be a good fit for me? Yeah, it's worth my time and resources, but
Right.
it's not scalable.
Right.
So and it's a one-off, as I said, it's a one-off event, but it's usually very successful because of all the reasons I just mentioned.
Mhm.
However, if you're looking for more growth and that is scalable, a lot of financial advisors they'll just buy the contact data for
Yeah.
everybody in, say, a zip code. And
Right.
they'll just send generic content to those
Yep.
individuals in that zip code in the hopes that somebody somewhere might be interested or even, read it
Mhm.
and it might resonate with them. Wealthhawk sits right in the middle of that.
Right.
We provide personalized information around individuals who have actually had a wealth event and
Right.
are likely looking for a financial advisor to help them manage through it.
Yeah.
But we do it at scale. So
Yeah.
our customers can get a sense of who these individuals are, learn about their circumstances, learn enough about them that they can create personalized content around the pain
Mm.
points that this individual is feeling. But it's not a one-off event. We have
Mhm.
over 350,000 individuals we've identified on our platform right now,
Yeah.
that our users can take a look at, get to know, test them out, look at some of their socials. Is this a person who would be a good fit for my firm? If
Right.
so, we have all the data around how to contact that individual.
And around referrals as growth, I also think that both marketing services like what I offer and even your platform can be a way of finding referrals as well. So even if that is your primary growth, you can use our services to increase it. Um,
Yes.
because like you said, when people are connecting on LinkedIn, they can see who they know who's also connected to that person. Well, that would be a
Mhm.
referral, right?
Yeah.
And same thing with the marketing when someone's referring a person to your company, what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to Google you, check
Yes.
you out, see your
Uh-huh.
website, your social media. So I think it's investing in these items can help grow referrals as well.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, absolutely. People do check you out. They do want to check on your website. They do want to see what kind of content you have there to make sure that you're a good fit for them. I think it's a
Mhm.
really interesting dynamic because these prospects who need financial advisors are are looking to see what they can find out about those individuals.
Right.
And in my case on Wealthhawk, the same thing is happening conversely.
Mm,
My customers get to get a look at these individuals to see what their status is and their circumstances, et cetera.
right.
So it's a really good way to kind of get to know individuals with, like a
Mhm.
first, like a
Mhm.
pre-first date kind of thing.
Right?
Yeah.
Um, okay, so I had a thought. I'm trying to fill the time as I think of my thought again here. You mentioned um, you can find people. Okay, ideal clients. That's what it was. Defining the ideal client. Do you ever get pushback, Lori, from your clients where they're like, well, I'm just going to message all 350,000 of these people because the more I message, the more chance I'll get?
Well, I do think there has been an old saying, and I think there's some truth to it, that sales is a numbers game.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand and I appreciate that. And we have had clients who just want us to download and send them content around all X number of people in a particular state or a
Mm-hmm.
particular city or whatever. And we do that. I mean, we do offer customized enterprise opportunities like that.
Yeah.
And, we happily provide that data. Our data, however, comes with such information around it that those users, even those people, can specialize and customize their messaging
Mm.
to those particular prospects. Because, as I said, we sort for and collect data around certain events. So even if we do that mass download that you're talking about, and we
Yeah.
send it to our clients and customers, they will get it in a format that says, these are the people who live in this area who've
Mm-hmm.
experienced an IPO event. And so you can write your message around that event,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
and you can customize your messaging to speak to the specifics that
Mm-hmm.
affect individuals under those circumstances. Executive compensation,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to write, ideally, you would
Mm-hmm.
write different marketing messages to people who were maybe retiring from a board of directors or leaving an executive position. That might start with a congratulations on your recent retirement. That's a very personalized message around a particular event. And
Yeah.
like I said, even those big downloads, we provide that information around those clients, and
Mm-hmm.
our users can absolutely customize their content around that as well.
I think the customization is great. So I get pushback from our clients when we try to drill down on the ideal client because, well, if I say I'm looking for women, well, now men aren't going to work for me. But that's just not true. And so the way I tell people to think about it is think of it as a dartboard, and your ideal client is the bullseye. So how many times you actually hit the bullseye, right? The outliers, they're still going to work with you, as long as there's that connection. But the messaging should be for that bullseye client, because just like we were talking about, people are going to be exploring, researching you online before they contact you. So how much more powerful is it going to be if it's for, a very specific person and their pain
Mhm.
points versus shotgun approach? And that's what I think is powerful about Wealth Hawk, is that you can define that very specifically
Mhm.
of the parameters of an ideal client.
Absolutely. I mean, we even allow our users to filter and sort by industry. So if you, to what you're saying, if
Mhm.
you are a financial advisor who has like a niche um, firm, let's
Yeah.
say that you only take clients who are in the biomedical uh,
Hmm.
industry, we can we have a filter for that.
Yeah.
You can
Right.
filter for that on our platform. I'm like you. I advise our customers to keep it as broad as possible, even
Mhm.
though we do enable our users to drill down to the minute details. If you want only CEOs of biomedical companies who have had
Mhm.
IPOs, you can filter to that degree of precision on my site.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and maybe there are individuals out there who want that particular event and that
Mhm.
particular prospect. And that's obviously why we give them this opportunity to filter
Right.
and sort so define, precisely. But I'm like you, just open your mind
Mhm.
and give yourself as many opportunities as you can to service as many individuals who need your help.
Mm-hmm.
So I also advise our customers to, broaden your opportunities,
Oh, I do the opposite, Lori. Just
Oh,
to
you
be
what?
clear.
Oh,
I think not that you should say no necessarily to somebody who comes to you, but that when you're defining your ideal client, it's okay to go narrow. That's what I get pushback on is people don't want to go
oh,
narrow. And
well, some to Wealth Hawk is you can go narrow on our site.
perfect.
Yeah. And you had also
um,
said something about messaging, and
yeah.
I think it's important to briefly talk about some changes that have occurred in not just tech. I mean, we're a tech enabled company, and we're AI first. I mean, we built this company around AI, and so
Yeah.
we love AI, and we like to
Mm.
talk about it and use it and
Hmm.
integrate it wherever we
Yeah.
can. But I think there's some apprehension
Sure. Of
around some
course.
of it
Yeah.
that I get asked about every now and then.
Mm.
And one of the questions is around messaging to individuals in a very personal
Hmm.
and um, specific and customized way.
Hmm.
So, as I said, our platform provides these detailed
Yeah.
opportunities for our users to really get to know the circumstances surrounding these individuals. And some of my users are a little bit, like I said, apprehensive about using that information.
Mm.
And I
Okay. I
try to
see.
make a point to say a lot of data has been gathered around
Mhm.
people's willingness
To share.
and acceptance of getting personal content.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
it's
I see
not
what you're saying. They're
right. Like 10
nervous.
years.
They don't want to make it feel like their big brother.
Exactly. So that's the
Yeah.
concern. But I think there's been a movement, particularly among
Mhm.
like younger generations who are
Mhm.
now big consumers of financial services. They grew up in an era where sharing was just part of being.
Yeah.
So I think in a lot of regards, this apprehension about saying, hey, it looks like you've had a liquidity event, or congratulations
Mm,
on your
mhm.
recent, like retirement, that is not icky,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like 10 years ago, it might have been concerning if you got an email, saying, oh, I know where you live. But now you're like, oh gosh, I love to know that there's a
Mhm.
sale at my neighborhood store, and they
Mhm.
know that I'm in
Mhm.
the neighborhood, and they've sent
Mhm.
me a 10% discount coupon. Right.
Right.
So I think there's been a migration toward much more personalized outreach, much
Mm.
more discerning of
Mhm.
individuals' needs based on their geography, based on their age. I mean,
Mhm.
you market to people of different ages with different
Mhm.
messaging.
Yep.
And there's, I think that's a almost expected now. Data that we've collected around that show
Yeah.
that people expect their corporations, the entities that want their business to understand who they are and what
Yeah.
their needs are. And I was
Yeah.
wondering if maybe you could speak to that a little bit as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think there are some things that I wouldn't mention. Like, okay, maybe somebody just went through a divorce and you can see that. I wouldn't necessarily put that in the email. I saw that you just went through a divorce. That feels a little icky. Like you're watching me for that or putting their specific address. I think if you're feeling iffy about it, what my biggest suggestion would be to focus on the pain point. So maybe not necessarily saying X happened, but like I work with people who this is what they're facing. I'm blanking on coming up with an example. So help me think of one.
Well, like, so sometimes our content will generate something that says, I specialize in helping individuals who are going through transitional circumstances in their lives make
Mhm.
sure that their financial status is secure, while they're
Right.
also trying to manage through other personal situations.
Right.
Right. So,
Right.
and that really is one of the benefits of having a financial advisor during times of stress. You can at
Mhm.
least know that that aspect of it is taken care of, and that
Right.
somebody you trust is managing an aspect of your transition
Right.
that that you don't necessarily have to devote your time and resources to.
Right. Yeah. But I also agree that there is a level of we want personalized communications, just not too personal. I guess it's finding that line. And it is, as we've discovered throughout this series, the number one piece of advice that we get from every interviewee is just get started.
Yeah.
And that would be my advice to somebody is just get started and you're going to find the line that feels comfortable for you and your audience as you go. Um,
Yeah. And
but
when
it's just getting started.
is one of the first ways to get started something that you mentioned earlier regarding like creating your like who you are, discovering who you are and
Mhm.
promoting that, for example, on your website. Is that
Mhm.
like one of the first ways to get
Yes.
started in your terms?
Yes. So I would call that uh, creating your brand. So
Mm-hmm.
the branding would be one of the first things that I focus on. Um, and part of coming up with the brand would also be who's your audience. That's one of the first questions that we ask
Mm-hmm.
is who's the audience, because then we can form the brand around that and your personality slash the personality that you want your brand to take on. But yeah, that would definitely be a place I would suggest starting.
Yeah, and so that is obviously integrated with having a good website that clearly expresses the values and mission
Yeah.
of
So if
your.
I was going to like outline where to start, I would say start with your brand. Um, Next would be all the like existing collateral, letterhead, business card, any documents
Mhm.
that you use day to day with your clients. Then next would be website, and then your online presence, and then developing the communications, the emails, the content,
Mhm.
the things that you're going to be pushing out to attract people.
And so we've spent some time talking about different ways to engage and different opportunities that exist out there. So we've talked about
Yeah.
LinkedIn. So I guess
Mhm.
having a great LinkedIn presence is important, obviously.
Well, and it's going to depend on the audience. So this is another why, okay, who's your ideal client?
Mhm.
Um, a lot of our clients, so a lot of our advisor clients, Facebook is actually a good fit. Now, because they're going for a specific group of people who we find are on Facebook more than LinkedIn. But LinkedIn is really great if you are connecting with people in a specific industry or company. It's also really great if you're connecting with entrepreneurs
Mhm.
or, corporate professionals. But it becomes, from my perspective, it's best if you're going for someone in a specific industry or company because you can create ad filters that's
Mhm.
pushing out your content to those people, which
Yeah.
is it's harder to do that when it's broad. That's actually one of the reasons that I'm a big fan of going narrow because it makes my job easier. I can filter your ads to be in front of specific people.
That makes a lot of sense. Any other platforms or social that you find is very effective for financial advisors?
Instagram is good, can be good if you're going for a younger demographic. So, like, let's say you're going for millennials, Instagram would be a good fit. And YouTube is second largest search engine, right after Google, which Google owns. So, definitely a good idea to have a YouTube
Mhm.
presence, because that's not only going to help you connect with people, it's going to help with your SEO and getting found if people are Googling.
Yeah, that obviously makes a lot of sense. And then back to, well, we've talked a lot about email as well.
Mhm.
And, the need to have, we've talked about drip campaigns and nurture
Yeah.
campaigns. Do you recommend any particular type of customer relationship management platform?
I'll tell you what I use is Active Campaign, and so that one is, of course, my preferred one to use. One of the benefits of Active Campaign is that I can put code on the website that is going to track IP addresses. So, like, if I have someone in my CRM, like Lori's email, and then Lori goes to my website. Well, my code is tracking her IP address. So now I know that she's gotten to my website and I can see which web pages that she's visited. So now when I'm sending those drip campaigns, I can specifically call out, like, oh, she went to my blog on emails. I'm going to now send her emails about building emails.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the reasons that I prefer Active Campaign. However, they just raised their prices like a lot compared to
Uh,
what they were. So
mhm.
they're still my preferred because I know how to use them, but there are
Yeah.
plenty of other platforms out there that are good, like very supportive and you can use. Another
Yeah.
one I heard of is oh, I'm blanking on the name of it. I'll look it up.
Well, a lot of our customers use like Wealthbox, for
Mhm.
example. There's Redtail, obviously.
I'm not a
Um,
fan of Redtail. Sorry, Redtail.
no.
It's at least as far as mass communication, sending out mass emails,
Hmm.
it's very challenging to use. It might be good for CRM tracking sales. It's not so great at sending messages out.
Well, and that's what we've talked about today in terms of particularly drip campaigns and nurture campaigns. It's
Mhm.
the, like you said, I mean, if it truly is 14, you're going to want a reliable platform
Right.
that is in some ways automated, because as personal as you want to be, you really cannot send out 14 personal emails to all
Right.
150 people every week on your list. And so, in terms of that, a really good platform that enables some degree of personalization, obviously, for example, MailChimp is a good example.
Mhm.
It allows you to customize it with the name.
Mhm.
And you can also put other variables within your content, like their company's name. In our case, if we provide the event that occurred,
Yeah.
so you could pull a variable and reference the event that occurred. Um, in any way inside the body of the content of some of these CRMs that enable you to be more specific and
Yes.
particular while still doing a mass mailing. Uh,
Mhm.
can you just speak to that a little bit in terms of the tech around it and the
Mhm.
importance of it?
Okay. Also the email platform I was looking for was Levitate. I had somebody recently who we worked with who's using Levitate, and I really liked it. It does a lot of what you're saying. One of the benefits of Levitate is that when it sends emails, even if it's a mass email, it's going to be created to look like it's a one-to-one email. So what you'll notice if you think of a mass email that you've received, like from Netflix. That's just what's
Mm-hmm.
coming to mind. It's an HTML email. Usually you have a background, so there's some sides. There's some color on the sides. It's centered. It
Like
has
a
very
newsletter almost.
yes, very
Yeah.
newsletter-esque. That would be like a mass produced email. It goes to mass people. Whereas Levitate looks like I just typed it in an email. So there's pros and cons to that, in my opinion. You lose a lot of the professionalism look, but you avoid spam boxes and it's looking like you're talking directly to that person. So depending what your goal is, where I mean, the other platforms you could make the email look like that, but they specifically have created their platform for
Mm-hmm.
that reason. Um, yeah, I think newsletters are a great way to bring in personal aspects with people that is missed a lot of times. A lot of people are just sending like financial or market updates. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I hire an advisor because I don't want to track that stuff, right? I want them to do it.
Don't tell me about it.
And so what we've seen is that anytime you're putting personal content into email or uh, just content that you're producing, it always gets the highest engagement. So, something that you did that weekend, or maybe an event that's coming up at the office, or maybe you're remodeling the office kitchen. It might
Mhm.
seem mundane to you, but to your audience, it's like, oh, this is interesting. Like, this is a real person. I can connect with them on an emotional level. And I think that's really important.
So, in terms of the nurture campaign,
Yeah.
it sounds like there are a couple of different aspects to that.
Mhm.
And I'm just seeking your feedback
Yeah.
on this and advice. So, some emails are like specific sales outreach, like I referenced earlier.
Yes.
If I get an email that says, "Here's 10%," and I do,
Yeah.
"Here's 10% off at your local hardware
Right.
store."
Yeah.
I like that. I
Yeah.
appreciate they know where I live. They know I'm in their neighborhood. They give me it's a direct opportunity for me to interact with them and
Mhm.
save money. But they're also, like you were saying,
Mhm.
opportunities to share, like like you mentioned, more mundane information.
Yeah.
So, in terms of trying to schedule a drip campaign and the
Mhm.
messaging and content around that, how would you suggest financial advisors do that?
Yeah. I I start kind of heavy and then drip less. So when I'm first reaching out to someone, there's usually been some sort of activity. So in this case, um, the IPO, right? Did you say IPO sale? Am I saying it right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay.
It was initial public offering. So it's
Okay.
when the company goes public.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just had this activity happen. I'm
Mhm.
reaching out to that person. Um, I'm going to reach out more frequently in the beginning and then less frequently as it goes on, because if they're not moving forward, it's not the right time. So I want to, be sensitive to that. It's not the right time, but I want to stay top of mind. So now I'm going to go from messaging every week to every 2 weeks, and now every month. And maybe
Mhm.
even depending how long they've been in your nurture sequence, maybe I'm going to reach out every quarter. Um, so that's how I would suggest like timing. It's also going to depend what that activity was to determine how frequently you want to be sending those emails. And
Mhm.
then I also like to start with like, okay, this is the thing that happened. Here's what I'm offering. Now I'm going to tell them who I am. Now I'm going to tell them why they should be um, interested in what I'm offering. I'm going to back that up with some examples, and each one of these is a different email. After I show them some examples, I'll, request a call again, and then I'm going to move into um, further spaced emails of, hey, just checking in, or hey, remember this personal update I gave you? So here's an example of one that I do. My dog is our employee of the month. She's been the employee of the month since we
Rightly
started.
so, I'm sure.
Right. So one of the emails I send is, hey, if you want to know more about us, we really like to reward hard work. So please join me in giving a round of applause
Of course.
to our employee of the month, Clementine. And then, if they haven't moved forward with me and it's been maybe 4 months, 6 months, I have an email that goes out. Hey, I'm just checking in. In case you were wondering, yes, Clementine is still our employee of the month. And, I've got a
Mhm.
picture of her. So it's just a cute way that brings in that personal element, but also is reminding you, hey, I'm here if you have questions. Now, maybe the dog isn't going to fit the advisor in their service, but you can find
Mhm.
something like that.
Do you find the messaging that's most successful?
Mhm.
Well, I guess I should ask, where in the sequence do you think it's most effective to request a meeting? Or
Mm,
would you first request a phone call? Like, how would you manage that actual engagement?
that's a good question. Um, for advisors, again, it's going to depend on what the activity was, but I would suggest actually making the phone call. And then even the emails, the nurture sequence that you're sending can bring in an element from the call. You know, something
Mhm.
that they've told you on that call, you can then bring up in the emails. That would be best case scenario. Asking for a meeting. um, yeah, it's just going to depend where that person is at in their journey. So it's hard to give a straight answer to you.
Yeah.
So some nurture sequences are it's a cold prospect, some are hot prospect. If it's a hot prospect, then I would be asking for a meeting in the beginning.
Mhm.
If it's a cold prospect, I'm not going to ask for a meeting until I've established some sort of rapport with this person. Otherwise, it feels too transactional. And financial planning is relationship based. So we want
Yeah.
to make sure we're building a relationship.
You've mentioned a couple of things that my successful
Yeah.
clients do, customers do, and one of them is reaching out and then referencing that outreach on a different
Mhm. Yep.
media. So a lot of the ways my happy clients
Yeah.
use my platform is, as I said, they'll start with LinkedIn and then they will do an email follow up and
Mhm.
reference. Hey, I
Mhm.
reached out to you on LinkedIn. I'd
Yes.
like to connect with you. I X, Y, and Z. I provide services that might be useful to you at this particular time in your
Yeah.
life. And then they will maybe do a couple of those emails. Hey, I'm just following up on my last email. Then they'll switch to phone. They'll
Mhm.
call the person, then the phone call will reference the emails.
Yep.
So that layered approach seems to be very
Yeah.
useful
And
and
text
effective.
messaging is another piece of that now.
Again, Wealth Hawk provides phone numbers, emails.
Mhm.
So, yeah, texting is another way and another different interaction opportunity to reference a previous outreach.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So we're actually over time here,
Oh,
Lori. We had
no.
such a
Okay.
good conversation.
Yeah,
So
I
we'll have
appreciate
to
it.
wrap it up. I guess let's end with what would you say is the biggest mistake you've seen your clients make and the biggest success or yeah, I guess success.
Well, I think that this industry in total has been rather slow to adopt
Yeah.
technology. It's a
Mhm.
traditional industry, and I think it's been driven historically by a way of thinking that is very conservative in terms of the way it operates. And so,
Sure.
particularly surrounding growth, as
Mhm.
you and I have both acknowledged, most financial advisors, particularly if they've been in this industry for a while, have relied almost solely on referrals
Mhm.
for growth. And I believe a lot of financial advisors are now realizing that that's not a sustainable way to grow their business, and
Right.
it's not a very gratifying way to meet growth goals.
Yeah.
So I think that is one of the opportunities that Wealth Hawk in particular has to help financial advisors be more successful moving forward.
Mhm.
And as far as, the best or most successful users, it's 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 embracing technology.
Mm.
I just know
Mhm.
that we're in a new age, and the people who embrace technology and understand that the best tech is the tech that
Mhm.
makes their lives easier,
Mhm.
those are going to be the people who reserve their time and efforts and resources for the things that really matter.
Yeah.
If, for example, if you can have Wealth Hawk do your prospect development for you,
Right.
think about all the time you get to spend doing client service,
Right.
meeting with clients, organizing their finances and their portfolios. Those are the things that financial advisors really want to do. They
Mm,
don't want to do the work that Wealth Hawk does.
right.
It'll take us 6 seconds
Mhm.
to do what it would take a financial advisor 6 hours to do.
Mhm.
Locating data, finding information, building profiles, finding emails, phone numbers, etc.
Right.
It's a click of a button on Wealth Hawk.
Yeah.
And I think that the people who are going to be successful going forward are going to be the ones who recognize that embracing tech like ours is going to
Mhm.
be is going to make their lives so much better. They're
Yeah.
going to be able to divert their resources, their time, and their energy to the things that are more important to them.
Mm. I love that. What a great, strong way to end this.
Oh, thank you. I'm very passionate about my platform.
Lori, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being on here today and sharing with us.
Thank you for sharing with me because I
Yeah,
really appreciate what you do. And I love the opportunity to talk about marketing because it's a really important aspect to growing your business.
absolutely. Okay, hey, if you've been watching this or listening and you were wondering when I was talking about having a brand presence when people are looking you up, and you were like, man, I wonder how mine is. Well, guess what? You can find out by scanning this QR code and taking our quick quiz. It's just going to ask you a few questions, and then you'll walk away knowing where you're excelling, where you're not excelling, and what you can do about it. And then I have the wrong image here, but join us next Monday. We won't be talking about finding your ideal client. That was today. But I will be talking about the 10 biggest mistakes that I see advisors make and how you can avoid them. So join me next Monday. That will be our last A.U.M of 2024. So I'll see you then. And also, if I don't see you then, have a very Merry Christmas.